There's a certain kind of loneliness that doesn't always look like loneliness. It's not the stark emptiness of an empty room, but the quiet hollow in a crowded one. It's the ghost that sits beside you at dinner parties, the silent echo behind your laughter. It's the profound realization that you could vanish for a week, and the world would keep spinning, the texts and emails piling up not with concern, but with unread demands. This loneliness isn't about a lack of people, it's about a lack of resonance. But what happens when this quiet ache becomes the very fabric of your being? People often mistake the friendless for being cold, aloof, or disinterested. The truth is often the exact opposite. They are not incapable of feeling. They are feeling everything all at once. They are human seismographs, detecting every subtle tremor of dismissal, every flicker of insincerity in a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. They don't retreat from a hatred of people, but from a hypersensitivity to the tiny, casual cruelties of interaction. So they build a fortress, not out of malice, but out of the shattered pieces of their own trust. Psychologically, this solitude rewires the brain. Prolonged isolation triggers the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that flares in response to physical injury. This is why loneliness can feel like a constant, low-grade ache in your chest, a physical weight you can't put down. Your nervous system, evolved for tribal survival, goes on high alert, interpreting every social ambiguity as a potential threat. Yet in our hyperconnected age, you can be surrounded by a digital chorus of thousands and feel more unseen than ever. Because the brain knows a fundamental truth. 1,000 likes can never equal the healing power of a single "I see you." This path is never chosen in a single dramatic moment. It's a trail paved with 1,000 small disappointments, a secret share that became a punchline, a vulnerable confession met with awkward silence, a hand extended that was left hanging. Each one a paper cut, barely noticeable on its own, but together they make the very idea of touch seem dangerous. Your brain, that brilliant survival machine, learns its lesson. It is safer not to try. You begin to champion your own solitude, mistaking the peace of emotional safety for genuine contentment. But this peace is a fragile illusion, and the walls you built for protection are slowly becoming your cage. After years inside that cage, a strange internal alchemy begins. Your own thoughts become your only companions, looping in endless, unshared monologues. You replay old conversations like worn-out tapes, searching for the exact moment you became unlovable. You dissect your own personality, wondering if you are too intense, too quiet, too much, or not enough. The line between self-reflection and self-flagellation blurs until you can no longer tell the difference. You become both the prisoner and the warden of your own mind. This cycle is cemented by a psychological phenomenon known as learned social helplessness. After so many failed attempts, your brain wires itself to believe that effort and rejection are inextricably linked. So, even when a genuinely kind person appears, your guard remains permanently raised. You might tell yourself you're fine alone, but a deeper, more honest part of you is still waiting for a sign, for a person who looks at you and just knows. The tragedy is that the more you yearn for that connection, the more your own fear pushes it away, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of isolation. Yet to the outside world you appear perfectly normal, even happy. You are the reliable employee, the creative soul, the one who posts a picturesque sunset online. You have mastered the art of performance, building a public you that is designed to survive without connection. But this version is a shell, and you live a double life. The one the world sees and the one you feel, where you are merely a ghost watching your own life through a frosted window. The greatest performance of your life is pretending you don't mind the silence. It's easy to label the friendless as difficult or broken, but if you listen to their stories, you'll find a common thread of quiet heartbreak. They are often the ones who loved too deeply, trusted too readily, and gave too much of themselves to people who treated their heart as a temporary shelter. The cost of this repeated heartbreak is a world that grows smaller, emotions that echo in an empty chamber with no one to reflect them back, challenge them, or soften their edges. When you stop sharing your story, you eventually forget how it ends. This isolation has a profound and little discussed effect on the spirit. It can atrophy empathy, not from a place of malice but from disuse. Empathy is a muscle that strengthens through emotional exchange. When that exchange ceases, the muscle weakens. The brain, in its relentless quest for self-protection, can build a callus over the heart, leading to a numbness that is often mistaken for coldness. It is not that they have stopped caring, it is that caring has become too painful to feel. And here lies the cruelest paradox. Those who have no friends are often the ones who crave the deepest, most meaningful connections. They don't want small talk, they want soul talk. They romanticize friendship, analyzing every fleeting moment of human warmth as an astronomer searches the sky for signs of life. A simple "how are you?" from a barista can be overanalyzed for hours, mined for a sincerity that probably wasn't there. When you are starving, even a crumb can feel like a feast. This hunger alters your very perception of reality. Studies show that chronic loneliness makes the brain hypervigilant to social threat. You become a detective in a crime that was never committed, overanalyzing a punctuation mark in a text, interpreting a brief pause in conversation as disdain. This hypervigilance pushes people away, confirming your deepest fears and locking the cycle tighter. You become the architect of the very rejection you most fear. Time itself bends under the weight of this solitude. Days lose their rhythm, weekends and holidays blur into a monotonous stream of sameness. Psychologists confirm that loneliness literally warps time perception, making minutes feel like hours and hours feel like eternities. You are trapped in the endless present of your own thoughts, watching life flow past from the riverbank, never daring to step into the current. But what if the current is exactly where you need to be? Yet within this profound silence, a seed of transformation can take root. When solitude is a conscious choice, it can be the crucible for self-awareness, creativity, and profound inner strength. The key difference is agency. Chosen solitude is a sanctuary. Forced solitude is a prison. One rebuilds you, the other convinces you that you are beyond repair. Many who walk this path claim they are not a people person. But the truth they whisper to the moon is that they miss the kind of laughter that makes your stomach hurt, the kind where you don't have to edit a single thought. The challenge is not to break out of solitude, but to transform it from a sentence into a practice. Without the mirror of friendship, it becomes difficult to know who you are. We see ourselves reflected in the eyes of those who love us. Without that reflection, you can become a stranger to yourself, your existence feeling thin and unreal, like a dream no one else is witnessing. The core pain of the friendless is not merely the absence of company, but the agony of invisibility, of living a life without a witness. Yet, it is often the invisible who learn to see others most clearly. This is the final, beautiful paradox. Those who have been most starved for connection often develop a profound, almost sacred, empathy. They are the ones who notice the person left on the sidelines, who send the quiet checking in text, who understand the weight of a silent struggle. They know the map of loneliness by heart, and they would do anything to spare another soul the journey. The very thing that isolated them has become their greatest capacity for connection. There comes a quiet turning point, a moment of clarity where you realize that waiting for a rescue party may mean waiting forever. That true healing begins not with finding someone, but with rediscovering the person you were before the world taught you to be quiet. Real friendship cannot grow in the barren soil of self-doubt. If you believe your voice is a nuisance, you will forever swallow your words. The first real act of connection is to reconnect with the parts of yourself you abandoned. Many who walk alone are haunted by the ghost of a younger self, a child who was too sensitive, too thoughtful, too different for the noisy playgrounds of the world. That child learned to wear their uniqueness as armor, pretending the rejection didn't matter. But the problem was never the difference itself. It was the story they were forced to tell about it. That to be different is to be unworthy. Healing begins when you can finally take off that heavy armor and greet that child with the acceptance they were always denied. This is not a personal failing, it is a human one. Our brains are wired for tribe and belonging. When that need is met with repeated pain, the mind masterfully learns avoidance. It's a brilliant, tragic survival strategy. If you never reach out, you can never be rejected. You live in a state of preemptive grief, mourning connections before they're even formed. You become a ghost in your own life, so afraid of a haunting that you never truly live. Psychologists call this the social self concept, the you that exists in the imagined gaze of others. After years of being overlooked, this reflection becomes grotesquely distorted. You assume everyone sees the flaws you've been taught to hate in yourself. Even when someone offers a genuine compliment, you dissect it for hidden barbs. The most devastating lie loneliness tells is not that you are alone, but that you deserve to be. But the human spirit and the human brain are remarkably plastic. The pathways to connection are not dead, they are dormant. They can be reawakened not by a grand gesture but by a series of tiny, terrifying acts of courage. A smile held for a second longer, a message sent without over-editing, a yes whispered when every fiber of your being is screaming no. It is not about faking confidence but about practicing presence. Friendship is not built on a pedestal of perfection, but on the messy, solid ground of shared humanity. Those who have dwelled in the quiet have often developed a profound emotional depth. They are observers, philosophers, and cartographers of the human heart. They can sense authenticity from a mile away and are bored by superficial performance. They crave depth, yet the very thought of it terrifies them. So they construct fortresses with windows. They want to be seen, but only by those who are willing to climb the walls. Their standards are not high. Their need for safety is simply non-negotiable. The final, terrifying truth is that friendship requires vulnerability. And for a heart that has been a fortress for so long, vulnerability feels like laying down your weapons in the middle of a war. You can't form a bond without emotional risk, and that risk can feel like a life-or-death gamble. It's easier to say, "I'm fine alone," than to admit, "I'm terrified of trying and failing again." But in choosing permanent safety, you unknowingly confirm your deepest fear, that you are unlovable. Yet imagine if you shifted the goal. What if connection wasn't about being impressive, but about being honest? What if it wasn't a performance you had to nail, but a space you could simply occupy as you are? The people who are truly meant for you will not be scared off by your quiet. They will see the depth behind it. They won't try to fill your silence. They will make the silence feel like home. The journey back often begins not with finding others, but with grieving the versions of you that accepted less than you deserved. The people pleaser, the beggar for crumbs of attention, the one who hid their true thoughts to avoid conflict. When you mourn these old selves and extend them compassion, a profound shift occurs. You stop attracting from a place of desperate hunger and begin to magnetize from a place of wholeness. And wholeness, it turns out, is what truly attracts its own kind. There is a fierce, unexpected freedom on the other side of this grief. You stop chasing and start understanding. You realize that being alone doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been curating your life, waiting for the right energy, the right alignment. You start to crave friendships that feel as natural and essential as breathing. Loneliness, when listened to, becomes the most honest teacher you've ever had. This is the quiet hope. The people who have walked the long road alone often develop a self-awareness and depth that becomes their greatest gift. They have been forged in silence, and when the right people finally arrive, they are able to offer a connection that is not clingy or desperate, but grounded, present, and deeply real. Your solitude was not a punishment. It was the workshop where you were built. Healing is not a race. It is a slow, gentle unfolding. It begins with speaking to yourself with the kindness you would offer a dear friend. When the old, fearful voice whispers, "You'll always be alone," you learn to answer with a newer, softer one. "I'm open to being found." Your brain is listening. Neural pathways change through repetition, not miracles. The more you affirm your own worth, the more you become a magnet for the connections you deserve. Loneliness is not your permanent address. It is a season, a long, cold winter that eventually gives way to spring. Not having friends does not make you less human. It just makes your story quieter for now. And quiet stories can be the most powerful of all. They are filled with art, introspection, and a profound understanding of the human condition. Your quiet story is still being written, and the most important chapters may be just about to begin. So if you are in that quiet place now, please hold this truth close. You are not broken. You are not a flaw in the system. You are in the arduous, beautiful process of becoming. The world is not passing you by. It is waiting for you to step into it as your full, authentic self. The day will come when you will sit with someone and feel a resonance so deep, words will be almost unnecessary. And you will understand that all this time you weren't being prepared for just anyone, you were being prepared for them. You will stop craving the noise of the crowd and start cherishing the resonance of the rare. You will stop performing and start recognizing. And you will finally understand that true friendship is not about constant contact, but about mutual recognition. It's the silent, profound relief of you too. I thought I was the only one. That is the friendship born not of desperation, but of destiny. Because connection in its purest form is not about finding perfect people. It's about finding the honest ones, the ones who can sit with your shadows, celebrate your light, and see the beauty in your complex, mended cracks. Those are the people worth the wait. And when they arrive, you will finally know what it means to be seen, not the curated performance, but the magnificent, imperfect, and utterly real you. Until then, walk gently with your own heart. Speak to yourself with kindness. Remember that even if you stand alone today, you are worthy of being known. You are a thread in the grand, invisible tapestry of humanity, connected always, even in your quietest moments. And one day you will meet another who has known this same silence. You will see it in their eyes, the same depth, the same understanding. You will smile and they will smile back. And in that silent exchange, two lonely worlds will finally, beautifully, collide and become one.